So, hello. How are ye? I'm going to take you on a little journey. Do you want to come on a little journey with me? Through my head. What's been in my head for the last few years? I've built it up into a book. And then I've been talking about it for a few months online here, and others are getting what I'm saying and running off with it and coming back. And somebody took what I said, what is like hundreds of pages in my book, and condensed it down into a few paragraphs. So I was like, this is brilliant. I'm going to share this out because this is it. This is the world we live in today, and how we got here, and who's ruling it, and the players, and it's all there, and it's quite interesting. So it all started here for me about 3 years ago. I went down to Skibbereen, to Skull. Went to an antique bookshop there, and I went in, and the lady was there. What brings you over this way? And I was like, well, I came over here to see how Irish it is, considering it's not that way over in Waterford anymore. It's very, invaded. So she was like, that's very far right of you. I was like, okay, well, it's very quiet and idyllic over here. It's lovely. It's very quiet over there. And they don't see what's going on in the rest of the country. They just don't. So I get that, But when you see what's going on here and you're living here, you can see your country's disappearing in front of your eyes. You don't want to be fairly mentally redundant not to see that now at this point. So anyway, she went on to tell me that, well, if you came over here looking for Irish people, you're not going to find them. They're all French and German. I was like, what? Why are they all French and German over here in this little corner part of Ireland? And then I went on to find it's not just that little corner part of Ireland. It's a lot more. You have the Pale in Dublin, and you go across the Pale to Tipperary, Clonmel, Carlow, across that way. It goes all the way across to Kerry, even on down to Skibbereen. A lot more. There's just a lot. This country's been colonised over and over and over and over. We are in the fifth colonisation of this country since the 1100s. That's what's happening. And these Palatinate rulers, they're the ones doing this. So they are. It's your nobilities. And it all came from the Holy Roman Empire over in, what's now Europe. The Soviet state of Europe. It used to go beyond that, like France, Germany, Switzerland. They were all the one at one point. They weren't called all these different countries. It's only when they broke up, dismantled, and there's been a few wars. Napoleon went up to dismantle the Holy Roman Empire back then, and he spread all these Palatines across to Ireland and onto America. So, and then there was Sephardic Jews brought down from Portugal after the Spanish Inquisition. So there's a lot going on here that people don't realise what their country is. So I'm going to read this out because it's fascinating. It's fantastic. It's done well. So thank you to my friend for sending it to me because it's very well done. So, right, turn this off. I'm going to turn this on here. Right, so let's walk slowly through the entire convergence system from the ground up, showing how it really works using the Palatinate model as a lens. And by the end, you'll see how every layer interlocks into one structure: law, finance, tech, health, data, all operating like a modern empire with the same logic Rome and the Holy Roman Empire used. So the Palatinate model refresher. In the ancient world, the emperor crown held all land and power in trust. Counts Palatine governors exercised delegated royal powers locally, chartered guilds and corporations, and handled trade and mining and tolls, banking and military contracts. Subjects lived on the land as tenants, not owners. The emperor didn't micromanage. He created legal and economic frameworks, so the system ran itself. So today's convergence works in the same way, but the kingdom is digital, biological, financial, and global. So the crown layer, global trusteeship, modern emperor, not a single king but institutions acting as the crown in right of the world. So the UN, the IMF, the World Bank, the WEF, the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, they present themselves as trustees of humanity, the planet and the future. They claim authority through climate emergencies, public health crises, financial stability mandates, and the Palatinate logic, the crown, claims ultimate jurisdiction over land, air, health and economy, not for private ownership, but as sacred trusteeship. So we have law and governance layer, the imperial chancery, Uni Detroit and uncitral right model laws for commerce, digital ID, contracts and finance. The WHO issues health regulations, pandemic treaties, binding nations. World Economic Forum, WEF sells the narrative, Great Reset, Fourth Industrial Revolution. National governments, like medieval counts, they implemented these laws locally but don't originate them. Palatinate logic, one legal order across all provinces, unlike the Holy Roman Empire's imperial law trumped local law. UN treaties and model laws standardized everything globally. So the financial layer, regalian revenue rights, central bank and BIS control money creation, now pushing CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. IMF and World Bank tie funding into digital ID, health systems, climate compliance, carbon credit and ESG markets, turn behaviour, emissions, even water into financial instruments. The Palatinate logic, medieval kings monetized tolls, mints and mines, and today's crown monetizes data, carbon, identity and compliance. So the technology and biotech layer, the concessionaries, Big Pharma, Pfizer, Moderna, GSK, etc., mRNA platforms, synthetic biology, big tech, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, cloud, digital identity, AI analytics. So telecom, Hawaii, Ericsson, Nokia, 5G, 6G networks linking to Internet of Bodies and Internet of Things devices. So we have defence contractors, Raytheon, Lockheed, drones, satellites, geoengineering, tech. These are the chartered guilds of the new empire, corporations granted contracts, subsidies and legal immunities to run pieces of the system. The Palatinate logic, like medieval guilds, ran mines and trade routes. Modern corporations run the digital, biological and financial infrastructure. So the Internet of Bodies and data layer, the sensor grid, Internet of Bodies, wearable implants, digital pills, harvest real-time biometrics, the Internet of Things, smart meters, smart cities, connected cars, environmental and behavioural data, AI and digital twins, simulate populations, climate and economy for predictive control. The Palatinate logic, this is the census and surveillance apparatus. The empire always measured, counted, taxed and monitors its subjects. So digital ID and access layer, the gatekeeping system. Digital IDs link identity, health and finance into one system. CBDCs, programmable money controlling what, where and when you spend. AI risk scoring determines access to travel, work, loans or education based on compliance. The Palatinate logic. In the old empire, to use markets, roads or guilds, you needed the king's charter or the bishop's blessing. Today, no digital ID, no access to commerce or services. So, the narrative layer, the church of the empire, media and academia, preach science, safety, climate emergency, public health, NGOs and foundations, fund the experts, studies and influencers, celebrities and PR campaigns sell obedience as morality. Palatinate logic, like the medieval church, blessed kings and framed dissent as hearsay. The narrative layer declares who is ethical, safe and virtuous under the new order. Subject layers, the tenants, you, me, everyone, treated not as sovereign men and women but as beneficiaries of a global trust estate we didn't consent to. The system says we manage the planet for your good. You owe compliance in exchange for access. Palatinate logic. Serfs on royal land owed taxes and obedience. Digital subjects owe data, carbon credits and compliance. How it all interlocks. Crown claims planetary trusteeship. Law layer standardise globally. UNDETRITE, WHO. Finance layers monetizes compliance, CBDCs, carbon credits. Tech and biotech build the infrastructure. Internet of bodies, AI, digital ID. Data layer feeds on the system with real-time metrics. Access layer controls who may buy, sell, travel or work. Narrative layer justifies it morally. Save the planet, public health. Subjects live under it as tenants and not sovereigns. And it is Rome and the Holy Roman Empire and digital technocracy fused into one planetary Palatinate system. So there you go. That is the Palatinate model. So it is. And that's the system that we live under today. And it all came from the Holy Roman Empire. And it's just, you can trace it all the way back to Mesopotamia, back to Caesar, Palatine Hill in Rome. It's all there. It's everywhere. It's in the movies. It's in Star Wars. It's in Taxi Driver. You have Palantir in Tolkien in Lord of the Rings. You know, Walt Disney. You go to up the road by Duckett's Grove there. This is Duckett's Grove. This is where they brought them all into Ireland. You know, Duckett's Grove is a fascinating place up there. And Heritage Ireland is just after buying it, taken over from the local council, and they're about to do something. So, and apparently there's loads of American actors moving back to the area as well. So, and this is, like I said, down the road from there, that's where Walt Disney was from. His ancestors. There was a sign as I was driving up to Duckett's Grove that says, Walt Disney's ancestors up that way. And then you go to, like, they're all from Germany. Germany, the Palatinate, not the Holy Roman Empire. So you go and look at the buildings over there in Germany, in Bavaria, in the Palatinate, in Karlstadt, in like Rhineland, and they're all like castles like Walt Disney has in his opening thing, the you know, his big castles. It's all from there. And they've dragged them across the world with them. That is the story of the Palatines. And that's where we're at. So I hope you enjoyed that little journey. And there's a lot more. It runs so deep. But what we're under today, that one word, the Palatinate, that's it. That's the word. The bird's the word.